Hello and welcome to more Lore of the Cards, the series that looks to inform you about the lore associated with your Hearthstone deck. Sometimes the lore link will be obvious, but some cards turn out to be wolves in sheep's clothing. When looking at cards, they don't come much more wolfy than the Raging Worgen. Crappy jokes for the win. The art of the card is by Alex Hawley, an Italian-born artist. You can find a plethora of his work on his website www.alexhawleyart.com. Hawley has produced work for the WoW TCG, Magic, comics, and even artwork for the metal music artist Rob Zombie. After producing so many Warcraft cards, he has also turned out a host of important lore characters, including Ragnaros, Darius Crowley, and Alpha Prime. Alpha Prime was the first of his kind. He was not always a Worgen, and he was not a human like all of the playable Worgens in World of Warcraft. He started his life as the Night Elf Druid R'hllor Fangfire. After the Great Sundering, which saw the single continent of Azeroth split into the 4 continents known today, after the first defeat of the Burning Legion in Azeroth, a force of pure evil that only left destruction in their wake, the War of the Satyr took place. The Satyr are night elves that have been twisted by the Burning Legion's fel magic, turning them into cloven hoof, horned monstrosities. Despite their masters being vanquished, the Satyr were still outraged at the death of their leader, Xavius. They, and the remnants of the Burning Legion that were left, declared war on the Night Elves for this transgression. During this conflict, R'hllor would often be found battling alongside his friend and fellow druid, Arvel, and Arvel's lover, Belisra, a priestess of Elune, the Night Elves' moon goddess. After a particularly catastrophic battle against the Satyr, R'hllor confronted his Shando, honoured teacher, Malfurion Stormrage. Druids are able to take the form of many animals. Malfurion had outlawed a form, known as the pack form, which allows druids to take the form of a wolf. R'hllor saw this form as a means of defeating the Satyr. Despite being faced with the recent defeat, Malfurion forbid the form, and was backed by Tyrande Whisperwind, High Priestess of Elune. Tyrande told R'hllor of the form's roots. I know of the pack form well, as its ferocity is tied directly to Elune's legacy. The pack form's strength comes from the wolf demigod, Galdrin, as you know. But its essence is rooted in his rage against our moon goddess. You see, it was Galdrin's feral insistence that disappointed Elune so. It was his unwillingness to tame his savagery and bloodlust that overshadowed his noble heart. When her great light illuminated the dark during the full moons, it was as if her eyes glared down upon him in judgment. His anger at her conviction caused Galdrin to become even more bloodthirsty and indomitable than ever. Because of the form's volatile roots, this meant that it was unpredictable in battle. When in pack form, a druid risked turning on their allies, and Malfurion did not want to fight a war on 2 fronts. After the heavy losses suffered in the previous battle, the Night Elves sought retribution, trying a daring assassination attempt on the Satyr's most successful general, Zaelin. Arvel, along with R'hllor, led the direct assault on the general. While their mission was successful, it soon spiraled out of control. Arvel became wounded in the fight against Zaelin, and the commotion alerted the entirety of the Satyr camp. Arvel was unable to escape due to his injuries, but R'hllor refused to leave him behind, which saw them becoming separated from the rest of the group. In order to save their lives, R'hllor called upon the power of the pack form. Both R'hllor and Arvel took the form. As long as Arvel channeled his rage in R'hllor's presence, even in his weakened condition, he could take the form of the wolf. Thanks to the form, they were able to fight their way out of the Satyr encampment and meet up with the rest of the Night Elf forces. However, still blinded by their rage, they turned on their allies, killing 4 Night Elf warriors before Malfurion Stormrage was able to subdue them. R'hllor, despite having just murdered 4 of his own, stood by his actions, as the form had saved Arvel and himself. Arvel, however, was racked with guilt and swore never to use the pack form again, a promise which would sadly lead to his demise. He met with Belisra, and as they walked together, they found a satyr fortress constructed right on the edge of Night Elf territory. The two were attacked. Arvel fought to save his lover, but fell. Just before Belisra was also killed, R'hllor intervened in pack form and was able to chase away the attack. R'hllor blamed Arvel's oath to his Shando not to use pack form as the cause of his death. This event, however, was the breaking point for both R'hllor and Belisra. R'hllor ran away and found the other druids of the pack, who Malfurion thought had vanished. He spent weeks with them, and over this time conceded that the pack form was impossible to control. R'hllor rose up through the pack druid's ranks and became the Alpha, due to possessing the greatest strength. To try and find a lasting control over the form, R'hllor sought Belisra. He believed that by combining the Fang of Goldrin, an artifact that the pack druids worshipped, with an item enchanted by Elune, the moon goddess's will to tame Goldrin's ferocity could be used to help soothe the chaos of the pack form. Belisra enchanted a staff, and the Fang was affixed to create the Scythe of Elune. Elune's power was channeled through the weapon and used on R'hllor first. His pack form was mutated into a Worgen form. The other druids of the pack also went through this transformation and became known as the Druids of the Scythe. Since he was the first, R'hllor was the Alpha Prime. The Night Elves went to assault the fortress Arvel and Belisra had discovered. Partway through the attack, the Druids of the Scythe joined the fray, and with their help, the Night Elves quickly shattered the Satyr fortress. The Druids of the Scythe did not stop there, however. They turned on the Night Elves. Yes, the form was more powerful, but it was also even more uncontrollable. Not only did the Druids of the Scythe kill many Night Elves that day, but their bite also transformed others into Worgen. Malfurion had been right, and the Night Elves now had to fight a war on 2 fronts. Due to this tragedy, Malfurion formed the Cenarian Circle, an organisation blessed by the demigod Cenarius to protect nature and establish a tradition of druidism. During the Circle's first meeting, Belisra came to them, haunted by her guilt. With her she brought the Scythe of Elune. With the scythe in his possession, Malfurion was able to act on a plan he had concocted. Malfurion was able to use the weapon to banish the Druids of the Scythe to Duralnir, a tree located in the Emerald Dream that soothed the rage of any beast and sent the Druids of the Scythe into a deep sleep. The Emerald Dream is an alternative Azeroth that depicts the world as it would be with no races shaping the face of the planet. It was thought the Druid of the Scythe would stay bound in the Emerald Dream for eternity, but approximately 10,000 years later, Alpha Prime would escape the soothing aura of Duralnir to sow the seeds of chaos in the isolated human kingdom of Gilneas. The kingdom, led by Gen Greymane, severed its ties with the Alliance shortly after the defeat of the Orcs in the Second War. As Gen saw it, the Alliance needed Gilneas more than they needed them, sapping his nation's resources on keeping the defeated Orcs alive in internment camps and rebuilding the nations that had fared poorly in the war. To completely cut off Gilneas from the rest of the Alliance, they built a great wall, which they hid behind for approximately 20 years, preventing anyone from coming in, but also making it difficult for anyone to get out. With the rise of the undead scourge in the Third War, the walls of Gilneas were continuously assaulted by the shambling horrors. Any army sent out against the scourge was ripped apart. In a desperate attempt to save his city, Gen instructed his court's archmage, Urugal, to unleash a secret weapon, Worgen, which Urugal had managed to figure out how to summon from the Emerald Dream. While the Worgen were apt at dispatching the undead, their rage could not be kept in check, and also attacked Gen's men, turning them into Worgen. While the undead had relented, the kingdom of Gilneas now had Worgen slinking in the shadows outside their walls. One of these Worgen was Alpha Prime. Alpha Prime, tormented by his sleep that had not allowed him to act on his instincts, then set out to get revenge on Malfurion's storm rage. He was able to infiltrate Gilneas using a network of tunnels under the walls. From here he recruited Urugal to spread the Worgen curse throughout Silverpine Forest, which surrounded Gilneas. Behind Gilneas' walls, Alpha Prime began an organisation known as the Wolf Cult. Prime seduced the power-hungry. After proving their loyalty by committing murder on an innocent, Alpha Prime would accept the human into the cult by giving them the power of the Worgen, biting them and turning them. The reason for all this deception was the Scythe of Elune. It had ended up in the Gilneas area, and Prime wanted the Scythe so that he could wake his sleeping brothers and attack the Night Elf capital of Darnassus. The more Worgen Prime had at his command, the more likely he was to find the Scythe. Having heard of the Worgen curse afflicting Gilneas, Belisra had also made her way to the city. She too sought the Scythe, but to send the Worgen back, and was also assisting Gen Greymane keep his Worgen self in check, as he had been bitten. Alpha Prime entered into an alliance with the Horde's Forsaken to destroy the kingdom of Gilneas. Both factions sought the Scythe for their own reasons. Sylvanas Windrunner, Banshee Queen of the Forsaken, had been commanded by Garrosh Hellscream, because he's a douche, to attack Gilneas, but she also saw the Scythe's potential to summon Worgen and turn humanity into crazed beasts. Once Alpha Prime's wolf cult was a force to be reckoned with, the attack was launched. The wolf cult tearing Gilneas down from the inside and infecting the kingdom's citizens, and the Forsaken battering down the walls from the outside. The kingdom came crashing down, but the Gilneans were not wiped out. Thanks to Belisra and her Night Elf allies, the Gilneans were now able to control the Worgen curse. By drinking the waters of Tal'Doran, the original home of the Scythe Druids and the real-world counterpart of Duralnir, using the calming effect of Moonleaf and the Scythe of Elune, which you, as the Worgen player, liberate from the undead in their starting area. Angered by Belisra's meddling, Alpha Prime attacked her and her allies at Tal'Doran, unaware that Belisra was in possession of the scythe that could banish him back to the Emerald Dream. Unluckily, the scythe was knocked from her hand by a Forsaken Ranger before she was able to finish the spell to banish the wolf cult. Crazed Worgen and undead flooded down upon the force based at the tree, and Alpha Prime seized possession of the scythe. Just before killing Belisra, a blinding flash of blue light swept Alpha Prime away. The blue light transformed into a gargantuan spirit wolf, which crushed Alpha Prime in its powerful jaws. Seeing their leader so easily dispatched, Forsaken and bloodthirsty Worgen alike fled. The mighty spirit wolf shapeshifted into a night elf. It was the spirit of Arvel, Belisra's lover. Before his death he had promised, "Not even death could keep me from you. Our love transcends death." And there you have it, another common card with loads of lore packed behind it, holding the story to an entire playable race in World of Warcraft. You've been watching Lore of the Cards. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of this series, and until next time, bye guys.